My fellow compatriots, I greet you. Today, I would like us to have a conversation about freedom, and oppression. In the preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, there are 30 articles on rights and freedoms. I want to talk about two of these freedoms that we enjoyed freely. The first is freedom of opinion and expression, and the second is freedom of peaceful assembly and association. Unfortunately, our strong attachment to these and many other freedoms has made cohabitation with La République du Cameroon intolerable to us. I will cite some historical facts that demonstrate why it is impossible for us, Southern Cameroonians, to continue living together with French Cameroon. Before I continue, I would like you to consider the response to these two questions from the perspective of a French Cameroonian. Question number 1. Do you enjoy freedom of opinion and expression in your community? Question number 2. Do you practice freedom of peaceful assembly and association in French Cameroon? It is precisely in the appreciation and the value that we each place on these two fundamental human rights that French Cameroonians and Southern Cameroonians are different and separate. French Cameroonians do not place a high value on freedom of expression and assembly, whereas these freedoms are so critical to Southern Cameroonians that they mark the restlessness in our perceived nature. It is because we cherish these freedoms far more than French Cameroonians can understand that we are different. Two different peoples with two different value systems, two different cultures, different traditions, and different worldviews, particularly regarding freedoms. We therefore cannot be one and indivisible. It is the established historical fact that while political groups and political leaders have unreservedly exercised their freedom of expression and opinion, and freedom of peaceful assembly and association, these freedoms were totally alien to their peers in French Cameroon. We understand that France imposed a policy of direct rule which gave the French greater control over its colonies even after independence. That is why all former French colonies across Africa cannot exercise two of the basic freedoms enshrined in Articles 19 and 20 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This explains why, under French policy of direct rule, both the Ahidjo and Biya regimes have been characterized by oppression, arbitrary arrests, imprisonment, and even public execution of their political rivals such as Ernest Wangie, Ruben Umnyobe, and Felix Momie, and counting. On the other hand, the British policy of indirect rule inspired a deep sense of responsible leadership, nurtured strong institutions and mutual respect for divergent political ideologies. This explains why political figures such as E.M.L. Endeli and John Gu Funcher were able to freely express divergent political opinions at public rallies without fear of oppression. We grew up knowing, believing in, and practicing the God-given freedoms of expression, of assembly, and of association. We jealously respect our judicial systems and the rule of law, and we have always settled our disputes through dialogue. For over 60 years, we have waited patiently, hoping that our French Cameroon compatriots would come to understand and appreciate why we are willing to sacrifice our lives for the sake of these freedoms. But this has not happened. When you travel, study, or live abroad, and while there enjoy the freedoms of assembly and freedoms of expression which others have died for, why should you settle for less in your own country by advancing the very lame argument that the fear of the gendarme is the beginning of wisdom? The spirit of freedom has been stamped into the DNA of every Southern Cameroonian. Hence, we shall never sacrifice our God-given rights. Anyone who does not want to exercise their God-given right to enjoy these freedoms is free to do so. But we refuse to subject ourselves to a life of perpetual servitude because we are different. We are Southern Cameroonians, and therefore, as Southern Cameroonians, believe in our liberation struggle, our freedom of association, and freedom of speech. Thank you for listening.